welcome back to part 2 of the How to Escape the $1 to $3 million Nightmare Zone to Reclaim Your Business and Personal Life series. It's a bit of a mouthful, actually. I'm conducting this one with Mr. Rob Kropp from Pravar Group, and the first episode was called Productivity, Be a Master of It, Not a Slave to It. And this episode's called Performance, Leverage Through Effective People Power. Guys, as always, go back and check that one out. It will probably make a bit more sense to you. So in the first episode, we were talking a lot about, I suppose, the art of productivity and how to, I suppose, improve that productivity within your organization and stay focused. In this episode here, we're going to be talking more about staff and, I suppose, the reality of building a team if we want to scale. Rob's a world of knowledge, and this one is actually as well, guys, if you're interested, I have recorded this one as a screen share. So if you want to go and watch it, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/blog/performance, and the recording is on there. And if you want to go check out the other one, it's thesiteshed.com/blog/productivity. Again, that was recorded as well as a training, so you can go and check that out for the grand price of $0. While I'm talking about training and benefits, there is also a free resource which has been updated in the resource section of the SiteShed website. That's thesiteshed.com/resources. You'll find loads and loads of useful business resources in there, and Rob has also left one behind, so you can go and grab that. Okay, that is all. I hope you enjoy this. If you do, please do me a favor, give it a like, give it a share, and go and forward it on to somebody that may benefit from it. Okay, let's jump right in. For all of you book enthusiasts out there, I have started creating a book review for you. It's a YouTube channel that I've set up through the SiteShed, and every book I read, I actually do a review, and then I post my thoughts and my key takeaways on that for you guys. I know you're busy out there, and I know you don't always find time to read, although we all should. So the purpose of this channel is to give you guys enough information about the book that you can make up your own call, whether or not you want to go and read it yourself. Anyway, you can find that through the SiteShed's YouTube channel. It's got a separate playlist there that's been set up just for that. And we will be launching those and announcing them, of course, in the newsletters that come out every week. So if you want to get a bit of a curation as to what's been going on throughout that week, whether that's podcasts or book reviews or upcoming events or whatever else might be going on, you can head across to the siteshed.com and you can sign up for the Toolbox Talks, and that will be sent out to you. So it will land in your inbox and you won't have to go looking for it. Okay, that's all. This podcast is proudly brought to you by Tradie Web Guys, and specifically Tradie Web Guys' new content creation program. Now, guys, I don't really get that excited very often about products and solutions that we release across at Tradie Web Guys, but I've got to say this new content creation program is absolutely incredible. I'm talking common practice here for the clients that we're working with is to have their content ranking within the first page of Google organically within 1 to 2 weeks. Like, it is insane. Of course, it serves as a double-edged sword. It's there so you can communicate the caliber of work you do to your customers, but the search engine results we're getting from these projects is just mind-blowing. I cannot believe it. Anyway, guys, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/content-creation. You can get to it through the homepage as well. But I really encourage you to fill the form in, guys, and see if it will work for you, because I can tell you now it's working for all of our clients and they are loving it. Go check it out.
Giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the SiteShed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to part 2 of the How to Escape the $1 to $3 million Nightmare Zone and Reclaim Your Business and Personal Life series I'm conducting with Rob Kropp from Pravar Group. Rob, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
So, Rob, this is the second part. The first one was productivity, be a master of it, not a slave to it. In this episode, we're talking about performance, leveraging through effective people power. I just want to clarify for the listeners out there, it's important that you go back and listen to productivity, the first part, because so much of what we were speaking about there will tie into what we're speaking about here. So go and check that one out. It's available through iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you consume your podcasting media. And of course, you can head across to thesiteshed.com and get a hold of that. Rob, now in this episode, we're going to be talking a little bit more about the reality of if you want to grow, you need to get a good team around you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where it's not like a lot of trades and construction business owners run online businesses or anything like that, where they can have scalability through systems and a lot of automation and everything like that. The reality is, for a lot of trades and construction business owners, to be able to get leverage for the business owners, you need team, and you have to have people around you, because otherwise you are absolutely going to be stuck in your business forever if you don't build a team. So this is why this series is so important, is because it's going to help the listeners get the principles of what it takes to structure their business in a way which enables the business owner to step aside from their business and enable the business to continue to grow around them.
Now, I speak with hundreds and hundreds of business owners from all over the world, and one of the constants throughout all the different markets and all the different verticals is finding staff, retaining staff. It doesn't matter where they are. A lot of people seem to be having this problem, and I know, especially like living in Sydney here, there's truckloads of work. There's a shortage of skilled labour. The government's not helping, but I'm not going to go into that. But now they're talking about, the problem exists is, okay, we've got the work. Like we have the work, but we just can't get the staff to do it because there's just a shortage. And then the good ones are already taken, and then the good ones already started their own business, and all this kind of stuff, which I just hear over and over and over again. And to be fair, they're probably right, the better part. I know in a previous series that I've conducted with Danny out of BT Academy in Vancouver, Canada, and then Al Levy, of course, our most commonly requested guest, returning guest to the show. They both did a really good series on how to recruit, retain, and train staff. So I'm really curious, is that something that you see a lot of with your clients? Is it, do they struggle finding the right people for the right jobs?
Absolutely, and I hear that all the time as well. It's actually one of the biggest challenges that a lot of our clients have, either before they start or also when they're trying to grow their business, because the success of your business comes down to the quality of your team. Let's be real there.
You're only as strong as your weakest team member?
Absolutely. But I also want to debunk that mindset a little bit as well, because a lot of business owners come to me going, Rob, I can't find good people and there's no good people out there. I'm like, great. So show me what you've done to actually go and really build out your team. And they're like, I've done this. I'm like, okay, great. So where have you tried to recruit? Who have you spoken to? What seek ads you got going? Who are you doing and chasing? Are you talking to suppliers? Are you trying to poach people? And really, when you peel back the layers, they're not pushing that hard. And so, yes, there's absolutely there is a skills shortage out there, and there are a shortage of tradespeople out there. But there's a lot of people out there who really aren't going to the lengths required to actually find those people.
One of the interesting paradigm shifts that I have come to realise through speaking with Danny and Al and all these guys, they've got an amazing framework in place and their customers have this incredible retention rate with their staff. And I remember Al telling me, he goes, Matt, the difference between having staff that will stay with you comes down to you being able to offer them a career instead of a job. And the difference, of course, is, even at the recruiting stage, when you're trying, and I had this conversation with a couple at the gym only yesterday, actually, they're roofers in Sydney here. And I was saying, guys, one of the, try that, instead of like advertising for a position, advertise, get people in the door, have a conversation with them about where they could end up in 5 or 10 years within the company, if they, according to metrics and goals and that kind of stuff. What's your take on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, people want to, even though you're dealing with electricians and plumbers and roofers and all that sort of thing, they still want to belong to a business that's going somewhere. And as a business owner, if you can share your vision with people and show them that you're an up-and-coming company and they've got progression and they've got the ability to move, there is actually a career progression for them, and they're actually going to feel valued and appreciated as an employee, they're going to stick around. And if you can create a great culture, then that's what sets great companies apart from good companies, is that they've got the ability to attract and retain great staff, because without a great team around you, you're going nowhere. And as a leader, that's also a reflection of your leadership capabilities as well. And some clients don't say it when I say it for the first time, is that the reality is that the fish rots from the head down. And that's a saying in leadership is that, and that applies to so many businesses, is that a lot of business owners go, well, I can't retain good staff. I'll find good staff. I can't keep good people. And it's like, well, mate, have you looked in the mirror to start with, and potentially that a lot of the issues that you're having within your team are stemming from the top as you as the business owner, and first we've got to get in and fix your leadership and management capabilities, because then we're going to be able to retain good people.
I found as well for my businesses, like one of the things, like as a choleric sort of a high D sort of person, like you can really be an asshole. And I've found that's a realization within my business. Like sometimes, and this is where I've also found the advantages of having systems implemented, because if like I can either bark at people to get shit done, or I can create systems and processes that they can follow. And if they don't follow it correctly, then I can take that responsibility back on myself, and I don't have to yell and scream at them because I know that they're not following it because they don't understand it. To a degree, I might add. Sometimes it is incompetent.
but the reason why this topic is so important, this series is so important around performance, is because the stats are in Australia is that there's only about 6% of businesses, I'm not talking trades and construction, I'm talking businesses in Australia that turn over more than $2 million. So that's 6% of businesses turn over more than $2 million. And I'm a big believer that the reason why that is because to get to the $1 million mark is all just about hard work. To be able to get beyond $1 million is about leadership. And it's about leadership and management. And today in this series, it's all about the $1 to $3 million nightmare zone. The reason why most business owners get stuck in the nightmare zone is because, and I said it before in productivity, is to get past $1 million isn't about how hard you work. It's about how well you lead. And it's all about leadership. It's all about setting the vision for your company. It's all about recruiting the right people. It's all about empowering those people. It's all about relinquishing control. It's all about delegation. It's all about accountability. And so there's 6 key soft leadership capabilities that a lot of business owners need to develop, and they didn't get taught that in trade school. And they wonder why they get to a point where they get to a point in plateau in business. And the reason why they plateau is because they're trying to grow a leveraged business thinking like a doer rather than thinking and operating like a leader. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I just I feel like as well, with a lot of the listeners out there, that might be, builders and stuff like that. I feel like the $2 million mark, there's a massive difference between turnover and profitability. And I think that's a big disconnect with, I don't know, I'm sure it's part of your process, but a lot of guys strive for these turnover goals, which I think is ridiculous at the end of the day. Like you could be turning $1 million and, profiting $100,000 at the end of the year. What's the mindset, or what's how do you educate people around the difference between turnover and profitability?
Absolutely. And when you say to someone, "Oh, you're turning over $1 million," to someone on the outside world, they're like, "Oh, $1 million, you must be like uber wealthy." Talk to any trades and construction guy; they know that $1 million isn't that special. And the reason why
a builder would do that in 6 months very often. For a lot of the guys that do new builds, that's not. If you're not turning a couple of $1 million a year, you're dead in the water, right?
Absolutely. And for $1 million trades and construction business, talk to any of those business owners. They know that it's not that impressive on the inside. And it is impressive, but what I mean by that is on $1 million, you're only making, most trades and construction business owners are only doing anywhere between 10 to 15, sometimes if you're special, up to 20% net profit. So on $1 million, you're making $100,000. On $2 million, you're making $200,000. Out of that $200,000 net profit, then you've got to pay yourself, and then you've got to pay for all your lease payments and everything. And so at $2 million, making $200,000, by the time you pay for your leases and then pay for yourself, guess what? You're breaking even.
That's right.
And the stats also in Australia is only 6% of businesses in Australia are actually 60% of businesses in Australia are actually making a profit. So when you look at a business down the street, almost 1 in 2 business owners are breaking even or going backwards.
I really wonder though if that's also. I'm conscious of the fact that in the next episode we're going to be talking about profitability and getting your financial house in order. So I won't go into it too much, but I really do wonder if it also comes as a byproduct of the fact that it's almost an incentive to run your business at a loss from a tax perspective.
There is. It's absolutely that's an element to it, but I think part of it as well, I believe there's a fair bit of psychology allowed to it as well, where the reason why they get to it is because most people get to the point where they're used to living on $100,000 or $80,000 or $150,000. So when they start making that type of money in business, and they go into business for a lifestyle, they all of a sudden replace that money from what they were working in a wage to all of a sudden making that in business, and they subconsciously switch off. And I know that we're going to talk more about this in the profitability section, but it's absolutely related to structure, is because most people get to a certain point where they're doing $1 to $2 to $3 million, and they can't break through, and they're working ridiculous hours. And the reason why they can't get past that next level is because they know they need to hire people and restructure their business. But it's that question of, how the hell do I afford this? I've already got cash flow problems now, and I need to put an admin person on, or I need to put a bookkeeper on, or I need to put an operations person on, or I need to put an estimator on. But how am I going to fund this? And so when we're talking about structures, we've got to make sure that it's got to be a parallel play with financials. And so I really want to stress the importance for the listeners is that when you go to restructure your business, you've got to absolutely understand the financial implications of making these operational decisions, because a business owner can get themselves in a lot of trouble just by bringing in all these resources without understanding what's the true cost of those resources. They'll actually send them broke if they're not careful.
I know as well, tying into that, I've had this happen with a number of my clients who are so heavily dependent upon certain sources of income. Like there might be builders that work for there might be plumbers that work for one or two builders, or there might be electricians that, work for a couple of builders or whatever it is. And it's such a highly volatile position in the sense that all they need to do is lose one of those builders, and then they've all automatically lost 50% of their income. And typically, I don't know where I read this. It was in some book somewhere. I'm paraphrasing as well, so I'll probably screw this up. But if you're getting any more than 30% of your income through the one avenue, it's a dangerous position, because if that falls over, you're highly exposed. Whereas if you've sort of got your hedging your bets a little bit around the spot, then you typically find that if you lose 30%, it'll hurt, but you can kind of push through.
Absolutely. It's dangerous having your business hinging around one area. And we've seen it plenty of time with clients where they come to us and we're like, it's great. So show us where all your revenue sources come from. They're like this. And we're like, whoa, business risk. That's the first thing we tackle in coaching, is because you lose that. Guess what? There goes your business overnight. And I've seen it. I've just absolutely seen it before. It's very scary.
We interrupt this podcast today to talk to you very quickly about Tradie Web Guy's content creation program. That program has been designed specifically for trade-based organizations as a way that you guys as trade business owners can start creating content that enables you to engage better with your customers and your potential customers. It will enable you to build trust and build rapport, because what you're doing is you're investing in educating them. Biggest problem that we see with our customers today is that they're not regularly updating their websites. And that's a problem, because first of all, the search engines are looking for that. And second of all, potential customers are also looking for it. Tradie Web Guy's content creation program has been specifically designed to help you get regular, relevant content on your website consistently every month. We know that it's hard when you're out there on the tools, and we know that sometimes you don't always have the time to be able to do these things yourself. So we're taking it off your hands for you. It's a service that we're offering for you guys. We want to make sure that you're getting this done, because we know how important it is. Anyway, head across to tradiewebguys.com.au/content, fill in the form, and one of our representatives will come back to you. So, we're talking about, I suppose, leverage through effective people power. Now, does this tie into what we spoke a little bit back in productivity when we're talking about organizational structure, deciding, I suppose, where we need people and then how we can, I suppose, equip them the right way?
Absolutely. And so I'll use a case study of a client who he ran a trades business, and he came to us when he was doing about, say, he's doing about 125K months in as a trades business. Very typical, 125K, about $1.5 million, working ridiculous hours. He was off the tools. And he had a little bit of support around him in the office, but primarily he was doing all the functions within the business. And when I talk functions, there's the admin function, there's the books function, there's the operational function, there's the estimation function, and then there's the overall general management function of the business. And so tying back to what we were talking about before in productivity is the reason why business owners plateau is because they get to the point where they literally can't do any more unless they pivot and start bringing in operational support around them. And so in order to be able to get to the next level, it's about relinquishing control and understanding who are the operational people that I need around me in order to enable growth within my business. And it's not about doing it all at once. It's a whole transition point over time where it's about going from doing everything in the operations to leading everyone in the operational department. And that's the hardest part for any trades or construction business owner, because it means letting go. It means relinquishing control. And so going back to where we were in productivity in the first part of the series is when you go and do your time tracker and go your time in motion studies, that's going to tell you who your first hire is. And now it doesn't have to be a full-time person. It can be a part-time person, or it could be a system. But the areas that we focus very quickly with clients on is it's the least risk, the lowest dollar value, and the easiest strategy. And generally, you're going to get your best bang for your dollar for a trades and construction business owner is around admin, outsourcing marketing, and getting some account support in. Because all that is, you can outsource your marketing to the experts. You can bring in some good admin people for $25 to $30 an hour, and you can either bring in internal accounts people or you can outsource that to your bookwork. But if you think about that, that frees up all your nighttime work. You're not doing that shit when you're tired at nighttime. And then during the day, that allows you to relinquish and delegate all that low value stuff down into people around you to be able to take all that low value work off your plate, which enables you to then to keep focusing on driving the top line revenue within your business.
Yeah, that's epic. We could almost close that episode out now with that, I think. I know one of the problems that a lot of the guys have, especially the guys that do like estimating and things like that, is they can't necessarily find people they can't outsource that, but they really have to be there. And especially for the guys that do a lot of renovation work. And I understand what they're saying, like if you're building a new building, it's easy. It's from ground up. You find out what the foundations are, that, and you can build up from it. But when you're doing like renovation style work, you don't necessarily know what's behind a wall. You kind of got to be there to knock holes in, and is the structure right? Well, I don't know. I have to bang holes in the place and then find it out. So I know that's been a big problem for a lot of especially the builders out there that do a lot of renovation work. They really struggle with finding people that can replace them in that area of the business.
Absolutely. And this is why so many business owners get stuck in this phase, because this now means that because they've come from site, they have no problem putting trades and apprentices on, because that's their comfort zone. Being on site and hiring those guys around them is they know who to look for, how to look for them. They know if someone's taking the piss, where if they get them on site and they take the piss, it's like, right, mate, you're not good for this business, because they understand their trade. But being good at your trade does not equate to being a good leader. And so there's a big difference between being a good tradesman and being a good leader. And to get to a business which provides you good time and good financial leverage is about leadership. And so that's when you look at a lot of trades businesses, and I'm sure there's plenty of listeners out there who know their mates where they're probably the worst tradesman they know, but they run an amazing business. And so we've got to, the listeners need to really understand that being good at your trade does not equate to running a successful and profitable business. And to run a successful and profitable business, you've got to learn how to leverage people around you. And that's a hard mindset for a lot of business owners to get their head around, is because then that means they've got to now put an operational person in, be able to run their sites for them. And the biggest thing, that alarm bells that goes off in their mind, is they've got this belief is that, well, if I'm not there on site, my guys take the piss. And if I put someone in there, that I'm going to lose money. That's true, but that's where you've got to put good processes around good quality job management, good scheduling, good estimation, good quality productivity measures, and good financial management around the jobs, so that you can arm these operational people with good systems and processes and accountability to ensure that they run your jobs exactly how you want them to be run.
And would that also tie in things like performance indicators and that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. So you've got to put all these measures in place to be able to ensure that you have good productivity, there's good performance measures on site, there's good profitability on the jobs. Because if we don't measure all this stuff, it's bloody hard to hold your operational people accountable if you don't actually give them the information or the schedule up front to hold them accountable to.
I know Danny Kerr was saying, in the recruitment stage, or if people get through the initial recruitment stage and they have a really, long, detailed conversation around their position and then what the metrics are for people to actually fill that role, like how it looks from a number perspective. Okay, you're coming on board, you're getting paid 120 grand a year, but this is what is needed for the business to be sustainable by bringing you into that position, and then breaking those numbers down. And I think it's a really interesting way of doing it, because I think so many people, they just they hire too quickly, or they don't have a clear understanding of those metrics and those deliverables that need to be executed in order for that role to be justified.
Absolutely. And we've got to remember that when you hire someone, what you're actually doing is investing the business's money, and you've got to get a return on investment in that. And so you've got to chase a return on that person, whether it be a time saver or it's got to be a money generator. And so when we think about hiring admin and bookkeeping support, sometimes they'll make you money because they'll get invoices out on time, or they won't miss things, or it'll be more efficient within the business, so they'll make it more efficient. But where people like administration and people support gives you is they allow you to buy your time back to go and chase revenue. And that's what's really important. And so using the case study that I'll talk through today is when we met this guy at 125K, he had no operational support around him. So when we got him to unpack his week, he realized that he was getting heavily bogged down in a lot of admin, a little bit of book work, a lot of operational stuff, and a little bit of estimating. And the estimating he was doing was just enough to keep him at 125K months. And so we're like, mate, can you see why you're not getting to 150, 200, and 250? Because the amount of estimation that you're doing is not at the required level, because you're getting caught down and bogged down in the low value administration function. So the first part we helped him do is to be able to go, right, let's get some admin and financial support around you. That gave him 20 hours a week back. What he then did is reallocated that to chase more work. And then as he got out of that there, it's not like he went and drank pina coladas down at the beach for those 20 hours. He reallocated that work to focus on high value revenue chasing activities. And then over time, he relinquished control there, reallocated it. He won more work, which paid for more resources. Won more work and paid for resources. So when you're at $1 million to $2 million to $3 million, this is the tough part for a lot of business owners, because when you're going through this phase, a lot of business owners get stuck because they're growing their top line, but there's no money dropping down into the profit. And the reason why that is because you've got to go and chase work to fund the team and the systems. And so there is an absolute phase between there where a lot of business owners need to demonstrate delayed gratification, because what they're doing is they've got to free up time to win work. Winning the work and executing it pays for the next person. Then chase more, pays for the next person. And so with this guy that I'm alluding to now, over a 2-year period, he went from 125K months to 400K months. But that was done by hiring an admin person, a bookkeeper, an operational person, and an estimator. And so over 2 years, he went from absolutely doing everything in operations to driving the top line and funding the whole operational team. And now we've got plans in place in the next 2 years to go from 400K months to 800K months and hire a general manager to run the whole thing. Yeah. So the whole restructure is come by relinquishing control on activities, driving the top line, which then funds structure within the business.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, look, let's get to wrapping this episode up. But before we do, let's run through a quick framework for this episode. So leveraging through effective people power. Let's go, should we start at the recruitment stage?
I think the first thing we've got to do is understand who we need to recruit.
True.
And that's about unpacking their time as a business owner to understand, well, what is the function that needs to be relinquished?
Is it true as well? Across, I suppose it must be. I've worked in companies where you've got, the marketing person who's doing accounts and all this sort of crazy shit. So I guess it's common. It's relevant to anybody within your business, right?
Absolutely. And the smaller you are, unfortunately, you don't have the finances to be able to hire specialist people. That's one of the benefits of growing your business is you can hire specialists.
But I'm not so much talking about, taking that away from them at that point, but at least understanding that they're the marketing person and they're not putting all their time into marketing because they're also sending out invoices.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting bogged down in multiple roles. And by growing a company, it's about taking hats off people. It's not about adding more hats to people. It's taking hats off people so that you can get your operational structure right, so that people are focusing on the things that they're actually really good at.
Okay, cool. So then we understanding what those roles are that we need to, find people for, and then obviously recruitment.
Yep, absolutely. So it's clarity of role, and then going to the marketplace and actually being clear on who you want from the onset, and then being really clear on making sure you chase that person. And that's the really important part, is clarity of who you're really looking for.
And it's once we've recruited them, I guess the most important thing in my experience is the onboarding process, equipping them, setting them up for success, empowering them to do what you're actually paying them to do. That's a big part. So many business owners bring in people and then don't empower them. You've actually got to empower them to do what you're paying them for. You've got to let them do their job. Like, you've got to relinquish control. Like, if you hire someone to do your admin, let them do your admin. So you've got to relinquish control. You've got to do it. You've got to be effective in your delegation and your communication. And most importantly, you've got to hold them accountable. Like, you have to hold them accountable to their key activities in their role. I think, though, like a big part of that falls back on, you as the owner or the director or the manager or whatever, in the sense that, you've got to relinquish control, but you've got to do it in a way where they're equipped with the right processes and they've got the right framework so they can deliver on it. Because I've been in that situation myself where you go and hire someone to do a job, you don't equip them properly, and then at the end of the day, you're like, well, they sucked, I fired them because they were crap. And you look back at the way that you've equipped them and the processes you've given them, you're like, well, it wasn't even their fault, it was my fault. Like, I didn't give them the tools they needed to do that task correctly.
Absolutely. And that's when you start bringing in the people around you. That's why we started with productivity at the start, is because it's hard to lead and manage people if you can't manage yourself. And you've got to be organized, because all of a sudden you're not only responsible for your output, but you're responsible for your team's output as well. And so you've got to be organized, and you've got to make sure that you communicate well to them and you delegate well to them, and you equip them with the right training and the tools and the techniques to actually perform the role that you've got them in for. And if you're unorganized as a leader yourself, it's bloody hard to keep those people around you productive too.
So we evaluate what the positions are that need to be filled. We recruit for those people. We onboard those people correctly. Then we go to training, is it? Or what next?
Training, development, and ensuring that they're settled in their role and they're productive. And once you've got them locked into that role, then the business owner has to grab that time back and reprioritize it to more important activities. If you put someone in there, don't just get caught in the busyness of business. You've got to use that time that you've just got back to reallocate to the real pertinent strategies in your business, which is going to continue to get you to the next level.
And so does that kind of tie into tracking metrics and reporting and KPIs and that kind of carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it depends on what's for that role, yes, but it depends on what is the next strategy for every business. Everyone's different. It could be executing on a new marketing campaign. It could be going and trying to land that next big job that they're trying to work on. It might be optimizing the performance of their team for the guys out on site. It could be implementing a new job management software. So it's really about, depending, when you get that time back, it's about understanding where that business owner then has got to focus their time and energy to be able to keep optimizing their operations.
Brilliant. All right. Well, listeners, viewers, that was part 2 of the series I'm conducting with Rob from Pravar Group. That's a Pravar group.com. This series has been titled How to Escape the $1 to $3 Million Nightmare Zone and Reclaim Your Business and Personal Life. That was performance, leverage through effective people power. It followed on from the first episode, which was productivity, be a master of it, not a slave to it. There's one more episode to come, guys, so stay tuned for that one. It's called Profitability, Getting Your Financial House in Order. And as always, these episodes are designed in a way that they do stem into the previous. So make sure that you go back and check out the previous episodes before you listen to any of the ones that carry on from it. Rob, thank you for your time once again. We're going to be back shortly, and we're going to be talking about the, I suppose, profitability side of businesses, how to get your finances in order and all that sort of stuff, which will bring a close to the series.
Thanks very much.
Cool. That's a wrap. Thank you for listening to another episode of Toolbox Talks. If you're liking what you hear, then you can head across to thesiteshed.com where you can join our community by signing up to our Toolbox Talks. You'll get sent a weekly notification, which is basically a highlight of everything that we've spoken about during that week, along with any other industry news that may be relevant or specific to the trades. If you're enjoying the show, you can head across to iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, where you can leave us a review. That would be fantastic, and all the reviews get read out in the show. Likewise, if you have any friends or colleagues that you think would benefit from the show and the episodes that we create, then please go ahead and share it with them.